and that they took the rubble or the wreckage from this and flew it to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in 2 separate jets in case one of them crashed. And then Truman met them there. And then when you find out that they were informed that they were supposed to do a press conference and show some wreckage from an obvious weather balloon and claim that this is what they found. And so you have this guy who's standing there. Is that Marcel? I think it's Jesse Marcel. You have him standing there, and they're holding this stuff that doesn't look anything like a flying disc. And they were informed that they were supposed to say this. And this is what he said later on in his life, that they told him to have this press conference, and they told him to explain it away, but that they didn't know what the fuck that was. They didn't know what it was, and that whatever it was, they had recovered some pieces of it, and you could take those pieces of it, and it was like a metal. But you could take this metal and you could crush it like a ball and then let it go, and it would immediately go back to what it was.
Right.
They don't know what it was made out of. They found these beams, some part of the wreckage that had writing on it. And they describe this writing as looking like an ancient language or hieroglyphics, like very, very strange writing. Like people have drawn images of what this writing looks like. Those stories are all very interesting to me, because these are the people that had direct contact with the materials and were actually there, and their version of the story is they can't explain what the fuck that thing was. But the military was very interested in what that thing was. I believe that if that actually was a weather balloon, they wouldn't care at all. You certainly wouldn't have Wright-Patterson Air Force Base on standby, Truman meeting them there, 2 jets flying the wreckage to make sure they don't wreck. All that stuff is very interesting to me. And the stories from the Bible, the stories from, I mean, if you read Jacques Vallée's book on UFOs, there's stories that are from the 1700s, the 1800s. They're all really fucking similar. If I was an intelligent life force from somewhere else and I knew that there was these fucking psychotic monkeys down there with nuclear weapons and TikTok accounts, and these motherfuckers are building an AI that is probably going to be smarter than them in a year. They're building quantum computers. They've got nukes pointed at each other. You got to watch these fucks.
You do.
You got to watch them, especially if we're going through like a transition that every species goes through. Like maybe every species goes from you become warlike to control your environment and so that you're safe. You're still emerging from these primitive primates, so you still have these savage instincts. As time goes on, you develop technology and resources and agriculture and all these different things to sustain large populations of safe people where they don't have to think about hunting and gathering, and they can figure out technology.
Right.
And that over time, if you just let them keep going and don't let them blow themselves up. And when did the UFOs really start showing up? I mean, the reason why the mothership is called Fat Man and Little Boy is because in UFO folklore, that's when all the ships arrived. That's when the Kenneth Arnold sightings, when when they were over the White House, that's all right after World War II, right after the nukes got dropped, which completely makes sense.
Right.
Like that would be a point where they would have to step in and go, hey.
Right.
Let's let you know there's something way more powerful than you fucking crazy apes.
Right.
And if you play your cards right, you'll be us one day.
Right.
But if you nuke it, it starts from scratch, and now you're back to microbes and single-celled organisms and a molten planet. You know,
Right.
and then it has to take a couple billion years to cool. And
Right.
I mean, who knows what we can do?
It sets you back.
We might kill all life on the planet. We might turn this planet into a dead rock. I don't know what happens when all the nukes get detonated. I know it kills every person.
Right.
Every person. There's enough nukes to kill everyone, all of us, the whole world. That's so crazy. And if you were from another planet or a more advanced intelligent species,
that would concern you.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they evolved in a completely different way where they didn't have to go through this violence that we go through. If you asked anybody today, what's the possibility in your lifetime there would be no war? Nobody says that's going to happen.
Right.
That's kind of nuts. That as
Right.
technologically advanced as we are, as
It's
good
just
as,
such an accepted reality that there's always going to be a war somewhere.
and it's always going to be groups of people that are told to go somewhere and kill people they don't know.
Right.
Because they have leaders.
And it's amazing that China and us can't share you know, like that there
Prosperity.
has to be
Yeah.
a winner, and there has to be somebody on top.
Well, if you're a mob leader,
Yeah.
okay, and there's another guy on the other side of town, and he runs that side of town.
That's right.
And you've always had a good relationship. The families have always been, you sit down, you have
Right,
pasta on
right.
Sunday, you talk about business, but then one guy from your group goes over there and gets killed.
Right.
And then they lie and say that your guy killed them.
Right.
And then they start sending another guy dies. And then they lie about that. And then you know they lied about that. And then all of a sudden, you're not working together anymore. This guy wants more money for the shipments. Our
Right.
guys are at the fucking docks.
And it just
while
goes- it
you're
gets
sitting
bad.
in your fucking penthouse, and then you have violence and you have
Right.
chaos. But if the families are working together, everybody's making money.
Right.
There's 1 billion Chinese people. There's 330 million Americans. There's plenty of people to make money off of. Sell them stuff. Do the things
Well, that's
that
the
you've
other
always
thing
been
I
doing
think
that's
that
profitable.
that's what I always hoped would dissuade a conflict, was that there's so much economic opportunity.
Yes, we don't want to. If we
Yeah.
boycotted Chinese products, oh
No.
my God,
No.
we'd be so fucked.
Yeah, no.
We'd
It's,
be so fucked. But we got to make it so that we can all share this idea that one person's not saying it, but secretly trying to overthrow governments. You know what I mean?
Well,
And
that's the whole
that's
thing.
part of the problem.
that's part of the problem.
And this is what I think the deep state really is scared about with Trump, because
Yeah.
he genuinely wants to stop the wars. Like he's
Right.
openly saying it.
Yes.
That we've got to stop people from dying.
Right.
That shouldn't be controversial. That
No.
shouldn't be something that the left opposes.
They also don't like that he can't be controlled.
Right.
And they have, for a very long time, used people's secrets and vulnerabilities to control them.
And financial.
And financial.
Right. The
things.
fact that he paid for the entire campaign himself.
Right.
That's different. Like it did, like or funded it, or figured out how to get
There
money.
are
It's different.
there's an accepted practice of how that town runs and
Yeah.
how the world runs, and they don't like the idea that they can't control people.
It's just dangerous to let people continue to control people when the entire country is set up to have a limited amount of control for a limited amount of time so that the will of the people is met.
Right.
That was the idea behind it when they first started. Is the idea to prevent tyranny.
Right.
To not have some person stay in for more than 2 terms. There's a bunch of different fail shit. You got the House, you got the Senate, you got a bunch of you got
Right.
Supreme Court, decide over things. They're appointed for life. You got
Right.
a lot of things that are set in place, a lot of amendments and these things that are set in place to protect your rights. You can't fuck with those. You can't fuck with those. Because the moment you do just to have your team win, you set it up where we're living in chaos. We're living in hell. There's never been a fucking socialist, Marxist, Leninist country ever that worked out. It's like this, and it's all coming from institutions like universities that are living in fantasy land. They're all fucking,
Well, they all just want to reorder this hierarchy and put
Oh.
themselves on top.
yeah.
And they want to elevate mediocre people.
Yeah.
And, and that there's always a ulterior motive for whatever they say. One of the things that's encouraging over the last couple of years is that people culturally have begun to see through it.
Yeah.
They know what it is. They know what it is.
More now than I think ever before
More
because
now
of
than
COVID.
ever.
I think COVID woke a lot of
It
people up.
woke a lot of people up. And I think people are looking at all this stuff and they're going, if it feels irrational, it is.
Yeah.
You have a gut, you have instincts, you can trust them. If it sounds insane, it is.
It is. And for sure, these people that are telling you that everything is perfect and everything works amazing and everything is excellent, and stop listening to the people that are saying differently, they're not telling you the truth. There's
Right.
no way they can be. There's no way they
No.
can be about anything. Fill in the blank, whatever subject we're talking about. Pharmaceutical drugs, whether we're talking about the environment, whether we're talking about energy. No one's telling you the truth.
What do you think about this kid who shot the CEO? Do you think he'll get convicted?
Well, it's pretty obvious that he shot him, if that's the
Right.
guy. I mean, there's a video of him doing it. Was he denied a claim, or was someone near him denied a claim?
He had these back problems. United Healthcare was not his healthcare provider, but they are the biggest, I believe, and they deny the most claims. And the target is interesting that he chose that guy. I guess he chose him as a symbol of the inequity in the healthcare system and how fucked up it is. It is a fucked up
Why
system.
wouldn't he go after a CEO of the company that actually
That's a
denied it?
great question, and that's a question that people are asking.
Was he mentally ill? Well, obviously. To be
Well,
able to do that, you have to be at least at some level.
You know, he
mentally
was
ill.
a smart guy who had an Ivy League education and a wealthy family, but apparently he had maybe had a psychic break in the last 3 or 4 months where he was writing manifestos and reading a lot of Unabomber stuff. And
Really?
Yeah.
Unabomber?
yeah, he was a big fan of Ted Kaczynski. And he got he disappeared for like 3 or 4 months. His family was looking for him. Friends of his were looking for him. He went to some commune in Hawaii. And there's actually a video of the guy in Hawaii that was like, we let everyone in that has love in their heart. And Luigi had love in his heart, you know? So I think he was like hanging out with them. And this back problem was very, disruptive. It fucked his life up.
What happened to his back?
I don't know. He had a something.
Did he get fused?
I don't know if he got fused, but I know that
I saw some
there was a back issue.
X-ray images on like a clickbait YouTube video that was talking about his healthcare claim.
Yeah, there was I think his profile picture was like his back. He had like some surgery. So maybe you're right. I guess it is.
That's a scary one. When you get surgery on your back, I don't know anybody who's gotten surgery on their back where it made it feel so much better.
Right.
It's a very troublesome area to work on. I do know people that have gotten artificial discs, particularly in their neck, and it worked out really well.
Right.
Yeah, there's people.
My
that
grandmother had a pig valve in her heart.
That's in his header photo, so people will assume that's him. And
That's his
like,
low back.
That's again.
Yeah.
It might not be him. It's just a picture he posted, but that'd be a weird thing to do.
So those are screws, right?
Yeah, that means he got his discs fused in his low back. So what happens when you do that, especially if you look at that young man, he's very jacked and active. What happens is now the disc above